show of hands, who in here has ever experienced this phenomenon called fear? Jerry hasn't? Wow, I need to spend more time with you, sir. I am an adult that's 35 years old. I am 5'7", I weigh 115 pounds. Imagine what I looked like when I was a child. If you're 5'7" and you have my body size, you're either Bruce Lee and incredibly awesome at physical things, you're Prince and you're a genius and you make all kinds of crazy stuff and people are like, wow, or you're just a regular dude like I am and you struggle with some insecurities and fears, and maybe you struggle with not approaching certain people or not even entering into certain situations because you don't know what that might be, and it might hurt you, it might harm you, it might scare you. I'll tell you guys a little story. I was standing on a street corner, actually, right down the street from us. About, getting close to 10 years now. Standing on the street corner, I was trying to just go down to Pine Street. I'm standing on the corner of Pine and North First, where the big intersection is. There's the Cultural Affairs Council behind us, and I'm looking across the street. I'm about to just walk across, and this guy walks up to the other side of the corner, and he looks like kind of a pretty rough and tumble dude. He looks like, he's maybe growing up in a rough side of town. He's got, I could stereotype this very well, but I judged this person in this moment, and I thought, this guy could hurt me. And that was the impression that I had, and I had that impression a lot most of the time, but I was always usually around other people, and here it is middle of the day, and there's nobody around. And the thought that goes through my head is, what if this guy does something to you? You are helpless. You are going to be a victim. He'll take everything that you have and run off, and you will be screwed. And so in this moment, and all of this takes place in like 35 seconds. In this moment, I decide, you know what? I'll just go north instead of going east. I'll go north, I'll take an extra block, I'll walk around, and I can get some exercise. I could use some exercise, and I've justified giving into this fear. That's exactly what I did. I turned and went north, and I took an extra block, and I got to the end of that street, and this little voice in the back of my head said, dude, you're 25 years old. How long are you going to run around like this? Do you want to spend the rest of your life being in fear, being afraid of other people, running away from the potential that somebody might hurt you, when there's nothing to fear there at all? How long are you going to run through this? And this little voice is in my head, and I'm like, dude, you're right. I'm a grown man. What the crap? So, what did I do when I got home? I think we had the internet, but I didn't have the internet at home. I got a phone book out, and I looked up a boxing gym. And I went across the street to my neighbor's house, and I was like, dude, I'm thinking about doing this thing. And he's like, if you do it, I'll do it. I need to get in shape. He had his own reason. I had a different one. But I was convinced from watching Rocky movies that all I needed to have was, and I knew I had a big heart, I knew I had a lot of determination, and I knew that I had a lot of gumption. I'm not a very vociferous person, but I know I've got something in me that's strong. And I thought if I could just get into this place where I'll be trained on how to use my hands, then I won't be afraid anymore. Here's what happened. I didn't ever really lose the fear of getting beat up. Still have that fear. But facing the fear, stepping into the place where the thing that I thought might happen, but probably wasn't going to happen, is actually going to happen to me, I gained so much more perspective. I gained clarity. And I gained 3 really core principles that have forever changed my personal life and my professional life. Everything that I do in my profession, where I work with musicians, and I work with entrepreneurs, and I work with startups, and everything that I do comes down to 3 things that I learned in a boxing gym, that I didn't learn in college, that I didn't learn from reading a Tony Robbins book, which I am reading now, and I'm learning all kinds of stuff. But boxing taught me how to be a champion. Now, when Scott introduced me, he said that my record remains perfect, and it does. I'm 0 for 0. Which, that's flawless. It also means that I did the thing that I went to do, but I didn't go there to prove myself in that way. But I'll tell you a story of how fear and facing fear in a real tangible way changed the way that I see what fear is. So we went to the gym every day, and there's no heater in the wintertime. If it's 35 degrees outside, it's 30 degrees in the gym. There's also no AC. So if it's 100 degrees outside, it's about 110 in the gym. And how did we get through things? We worked our butts off. Because if we work our butts off, maybe coach will have mercy on us and let us go home. Sometimes. I had been in the gym for about a year. I had heard coach say the same 3 things to us every single day, over and over and over again. I'm going to repeat those things to you in just a moment, but first I want to tell you this story. I was afraid of sparring from the day that I stepped in there, because sparring is the real deal Holyfield. Sparring is you get your gloves on, you get a headset on, and you get into the ring, and somebody is going to punch you. Everything up to this point is you're jumping rope, you're doing a ton of push-ups, you're running around all over the place, and you're punching these bags that don't punch you back. And you learn form, and you learn technique, and you learn how to go fast, and you learn how to go hard, but this thing's not punching you back. It's all about technique. When you get into the ring and you're sparring, there's somebody else that has been training with you, that you know how hard they work, and you know how strong they are, and you know how fast they are. And in my case, this guy was 10 years younger than me, meaning he was a teenager. And I was scared to death, because Rudy, love Rudy. Rudy's my size. He's 14 years old, he's my size, but I already know he hits hard, because I've had to hold the bag when he's hit the bag. And I know what's coming at me. And I'm waiting in line thinking, I don't want to do this. Why am I here? I'm a radio guy. Why am I here? And I've got gloves on, but I can feel my palms sweating, and I can feel my knees doing this, and I can feel myself sweating even though it's freezing in this room. And I'm slowly moving forward because we're in a line. There's a line over there and there's a line here. And the closer I get to the ring, and it is a ring, the closer I get to the ring, the closer it becomes real. That I've got to get in there, and somebody is going to be coming at me, and they're going to hit me, and what do I do? And I'm thinking about all the stuff I've been learning for the past year, and am I going to be able to actually do this stuff? And I get up to the ropes, and I have this thought, I can run away, but then I've got to walk home because Lee's not going to drive me. And I get in the ring. And Rudy hit fast, he hit hard, he didn't wait for me to move, he just kept coming. And I kept waiting for there to be a right opening for me to do something, and there was never an opening, and he just kept, and I was blocking, and he kept hitting me all over the place, and then something flipped. Where I felt like, this is what I should have gone through when I was in middle school or high school, but I never challenged the people that I felt were intimidating me. I never got in the ring with them. I was always afraid, I always ran away, I always hid, I always did something so that I wouldn't be in that situation. And now I have an opportunity somebody's bullying me, I have an opportunity to do something about it. And so this little switch in me flipped, and suddenly I didn't feel pain anymore. Suddenly I didn't feel scared anymore, suddenly I wanted it. And so I went for it. And then when I went for it, coach saw that it was time for me to get out. I had another couple of sparring sessions. Every time I got better and better and better. But facing that fear, facing that terrible feeling that this could end it all, changed me. Here are the 3 things that I learned. They're really, really simple to remember. And I'm going to ask you to repeat them in a second so that I know that you get them too. They're easy to remember, they're hard to do, but in doing this, it will change the way that you live your life, and if you have businesses, or whatever it is that you do, it'll change the way that you operate. Number 1, be uncommon. The common thing to do is to run away from the thing that scares you. The common thing to do is to go, I don't feel good about this, so I'm not going to do it. In boxing, coach would say all the time, be uncommon, and what he was talking to us about was, do the things that are different than what everybody else is doing. We had a guy in our gym named Squints. I don't remember his real name, but he wore glasses, and he squinted all the time, and he was this big, giant dude, but he was lazy as heck, and he would drop his arms down like this, and coach would get in his face, be uncommon! Keep your hands up! The common thing to do is to let your hands go down. The common thing to do is to not move around. The common thing to do is to get lazy. The uncommon thing to do is to stick to your guns. The uncommon fighter wins. In life, the common thing to do is to follow the trends, to do the thing that everybody else is doing, to make excuses, to be lazy, to get complacent. The uncommon thing to do is have goals, be set, be focused, stick to them, Do the things that other people aren't doing that you know are effective. Don't wait for somebody else to lead the way. You lead the way. Be uncommon. The second thing is be first. Coach would say all the time, be first, be first, be first. I thought he meant we had to win, and that was being first. It's not true. Being first means you don't wait for somebody else to do something before you act. Being first means you show the initiative. You break the ice. You be the leader. You be the person that's going to step out. You be the person that will step into a place that you're uncomfortable with, but you're not going to wait for somebody to give you permission to do it. You be first. And the third thing is this: be solid. In boxing, a solid person and a solid fighter is one that can move around all over the place. When their guard is set, you can hit their arms and it doesn't move their arms. So if you're like this, the punches are hitting the arms, they're not going through. Unsolid fighters, guys break through that guard. So you see them come up the middle, the guard's here, and it doesn't matter what's in front of them, the guy goes through it. That's how you score points, and that's how you get knocked out. But if you're solid, nothing penetrates through. Nothing catches you off guard. Nothing changes your scope, changes your focus, changes your set place. In life, that can mean that you're confident in who you are and what it is that you do. True in business as well. And what your game plan is, and what your plan is, and what your strategy is. And something happens to you, like Dickie mentioned how he was having a rough day today, some things came up out of nowhere and unexpectedly encountered him. When you're solid, things can come up unexpectedly, and yeah, it phases you for a second, but you're set, and you're solid, and you know what to do, and it doesn't completely screw up your whole day, or your whole week, or make you change the way that you see the future, or the way that you see somebody else. You're set in yourself, and you're confident. So, what are those three things again? Number one? Be uncommon. Number two? Be first. Number three? Be solid. If I could go back 10 years ago on that street corner and stand there and see the guy across the street, I would remove fear from the whole situation. Because fear doesn't have to be something that keeps us from doing anything. It could be something that just opens our eyes a little bit more to be able to see things a little bit differently. If I could go back, all I would do is walk across the street, look at the guy in the face and smile and say, "How's it going, dude?" and keep going. I got there now, and I can say that I would do that because I do that. But I had to step into a squared circle, oxymoron, yes I know. A squared circle and face my fear and get beat on a little bit to be able to understand what it means to actually face fear. Fear isn't something to be afraid of. Fear is something actually to experience, because the more that we put ourselves in a place to face fear and to be challenged, the better we get at being people. Mr. Toastmaster.